Oh hi, welcome back to another episode of Black Dot Miniatures and Paints. Today we're going to be bringing you a Myphitic Blight hauler from Death Guard. I love this model. I've got no attachments to Death Guard whatsoever. I just saw the sculpt and said, hey, let's paint this dude. So let's check her out. It was an easy to build kit which took me no time at all, so that was really nice. We're just coming through on top of the plastic with some Vallejo black primer. Work this in all over the different parts that it comes in. I did it in sub-assemblies just to make it a little bit easier to paint and get a hold of the skin on his side. So we did it with his main face and front fenders, his guns, and then the main body. Alright, next we're going to come through with white ink. We're just going to hit this top down, work in a Zenithal top down highlight. And then we're going to go through and put our primary colors over it afterwards. It'll really show some major variety for a minimal amount of work. Alright, so here we've got Minitaire, Bloodstained Mud, and Deathworld Forest mixed 1-to-1. You can really see what it did to put that highlight from the ink underneath of it. You see the white parts turn brown and the other parts turn green. Didn't expect that, but love the way it turned out. Easy workup for no work at all. And then same thing here on his back. We're just doing an all-over coat, but you see where the top of it turned a little bit more brown, the lower part turned green. Really surprised me, but we like it. We're going to go through and highlight that up more, make it a little bit more of the Nurgle Death Guard green, but it was very interesting to see the way this just turned out on accident. So here we come with the Deathworld Forest. We're not hitting the top of his actual headpiece right there where it turned brown. We're more so doing the lower 60%, highlighting that up in there. However, we are hitting the tops of his fenders. We do hit the tops of the weapons guard. And then his carapace up top, we're focusing towards the center of that, letting the darker areas be towards the bottom. Alright, so to keep pushing the highlight here, we're going to mix in Minitaire's Pestilence Flesh with Deathworld Forest. We're just focusing on selective areas that we just want to exaggerate a little bit more. We're not going crazy with this. We'll highlight it up again in another step, but again, it's not a crazy workup on it. So here's the pure Pestilence Flesh, and it's really a nice green. I've never used that one. I actually popped the seal on it today, but turned out great. I absolutely love this color, and we're going to start doing that with more Death Guard stuff in the future. So to start filling out the flesh on his sides, we're going to start with Rakarth Flesh. It's a nice pale pinky skin tone, and it actually takes purple and red washes very well to kind of make it look a little bit abused and putrid without you know, going full purple or full whatever color you don't want it to be. Just make sure you give this too thin coat since we're working over black. Now on to the washes. We're coming through with Army Painter Purple Tone and Red Tone mixed 1-to-1, and it is thinned down a little bit. This is going to give it a nice tender looking flesh, because you got to think it's got all this mechanical stuff on top of it that's going to be poking, prodding, rubbing against it, getting wet, all of that. So we just want it to look a little bit tender and sore like it might naturally. Alright, so we're coming through with Balthazar Gold. This was really hard to get on camera for y'all, so I just kind of did some of the major spots, but look this thing over a ton because there is a bunch of little hidden gold surfaces. Check the box art, and then realistically, if you think it's supposed to be gold, probably gold. Just check it out, take your time. Alright, now we're coming through with Vallejo Metacolor Steel. I chose a dark steel color because it's going to be weathered down later to make it look old and nasty and rotty and stuff. So we don't want a bright steel underneath just poking through. We do highlight it up with some dry brush later on, and that definitely completes the product. If it were just bright steel or chrome, it would look off. It wouldn't look right. So just take your time. We don't want to mess up any of the stuff we already worked on. It's not too hard to get to as long as you do it in these sub-assemblies. Alright, now we're coming through with a dry brush of Rune Fang steel. Pretty self-explanatory. We're just hitting all the high points, spots that are going to be where we want to catch the edges of the metal, add a little bit of additional detail, because the steel is very dark. It's very hard to sit there and see the clear difference between different details. So if you hit it with this, you get a good amount of work out of the way, and then it's not going to be too bright to where it just looks out of place on this model. Alright, so here we're coming through with Mr. Hobby's Mr. Weathering Ground Brown. It's an oil wash, and it doesn't have to have a protective coat to protect it like you would with a normal oil-based wash. This is just straight over the paint that I've been laying down, and it doesn't have any problems. It doesn't peel any of it up. I even had to go through afterwards and pull some of it up with a Q-tip because it got a little bit too dark in certain spots on the carapace. Not a problem. Didn't rip up any of my green, didn't take it down to the plastics. Very solid thing that you need to add to your arsenal. If you watch on Space Marines, whenever you do this, you just touch this to a crease in the power armor and it'll sit through capillary action, go through all of the little creases and avoid the big open panels. Awesome stuff. Definitely add this to your game. Alright, now we're coming through with a dry brush of Gehenna's Gold just to pop it up a little bit more. We did go through and pull some of that weathering back, but we also wanted to make some of the edges pop. Alright, now we're coming through with Screamer Pink, and we're just picking out the little open spots on these tubes, and then we're also picking out his mouth. Not a big deal, no high stress to this. Just take your time, get a nice tip on your brush, and work the paint in thin. It'll just add another level of the variety to the skin tone. Alright, so now we're coming through with Zandri Dust. We're just grabbing these little tendrils coming out of his mouth there, and then we're also going to do the fangs on the top of the head carapace part. Again, super easy to get to as long as you keep these in sub-assemblies. These are easy fit, they don't need glue, so you can literally just push them back together. Wonderful thing to do sub-assemblies on. Alright, now we're coming through with that Mr. Weathering Brown Ground again. We're just going to go ahead and hit these little pincers on his face, and then we're going to hit the teeth on the top carapace part. No high stress to it. Let it dry though. It does take about 45 minutes to dry. So after it dries, we come through with Zandri Dust. We just start highlighting this up again. And now finally we come through with a dry brush of Ushabti Bone. Now this is totally optional. I decided I wanted to do it. I just hit it with an edge highlight of the Elysian Green. There's actually a ton of hard edges you can sit there and highlight up on this model. Just do whatever you want to do with it. If you don't want to do this, you certainly don't have to. This is a very easy model to sit there and knock them out quickly. But at the same time, some people's just worst enemy is doing edge highlighting. I get it, it's a pain. At the same time, it does add another level to it that is really low stress, low work on this model. Alright, so now we're coming through with Mepheston Red. We're just painting his little, I don't know, 2001 Space Odyssey Howl eyeball there. We're just going to give it a little love with the red, Mepheston red first, and we're going to work it up, give it a nice shape to it. Alright, so here we mixed up Evil Sunz and Mepheston red 1-to-1. We're hitting the top of the rockets, and we're also hitting the top 50% of the little Howl eyeball there. We're just going to sit there and kind of work it in an arc shape to add a little bit of a rounder surface effect to it. Next we come in with Evil Sunz Scarlet by itself. Now we're hitting about the top third of it, if that, maybe 25% or so. Again, working that arc shape into it. Alright, now we're doing Wild Rider Red by itself. We're just hitting maybe the top 10% of this. We're also going to add a dot there on the bottom to make it look like a round surface. Alright guys, so here's our finished product. Love the way this guy turned out. He just looks very, very Death Guard Nurgle-y to me. I think Papa Nurgle would be proud of the way he turned out and the way he looks. Be a good companion to add to the army. So again, this has been Kevin with Black Dot Miniatures and Paint. I'm glad to be able to bring this to you to show you the way I painted this up. It took me about 2.5 hours to get it to this standard, not including dry times. So thank you to you guys that have been coming back week after week. I've been really trying hard to bring y'all regular content so y'all can check it out, share it to a buddy. Hopefully you found something useful. If you do, please like, comment, subscribe. If you find something you want to show your buddy who happened to be starting a Death Guard army, send him this video. Maybe he can use something, maybe he can't. At least it'll give him an idea of where he wants to go with it. So again, this has been Kevin with Black Dot Miniatures and Paints. Thanks for checking me out, and we'll catch y'all next time. Bye for now.